Forget the Supreme Court ruling for a moment. Forget the headlines. Forget the legal arguments about birthright citizenship. Your brain heard something older. Who belongs with us? Not who is standing near us. Not who crossed the border. Not who reached the fire first. Who belongs? Because for most of human history, that question was not political. It was survival. Picture a cave, a fire, a food pile, children sleeping near the wall, hunters outside in the dark. Then a stranger appears at the entrance. Maybe he is harmless. Maybe he is desperate. Maybe he is useful. Maybe he is dangerous. The tribe does not know. And that is the problem. Because the moment they let him in, they are not just sharing warmth. They are sharing risk. Food, protection, trust, children, future. Now make the question harder. The stranger does not just enter the camp, he has a child there. And now the tribe has to answer something permanent. Does birth beside the fire make the child one of us? Does physical presence create membership? Does the tribe have any say? That is why birthright citizenship feels so explosive. The legal brain sees a rule. Born here means citizen. But the older brain sees a claim on the food, a claim on the protection, a claim on the future, a claim on the tribe itself. And if enough strangers enter fast enough, the tribe does not simply become bigger, it becomes something else. This is the part modern politics keeps forgetting. Membership is not a feeling. Membership is a resource system. And every resource system has a mathematical limit.
A tribe can absorb one stranger, maybe 10, maybe hundreds over time. But it cannot absorb infinity. At some point, the outsider stops becoming part of the tribe, and the tribe starts becoming something else. Most people think borders are modern. They are not. Borders are older than flags, older than courts, older than passports, older than nations. Your skin has borders. Your immune system has borders. Your family has borders. Your home has borders. Your mind has borders. Every living system survives by deciding what belongs inside it and what does not. A cell with no membrane dies. A house with no door stops being a house. A tribe with no boundary stops being a tribe. But that is only half the story. Because the real issue is not the stranger, it is the ratio. Every nation has two numbers, the number of people entering and the number of people the system can turn into members. Entry, absorption. If absorption is faster than entry, the nation can grow. The stranger learns the language, accepts the laws, adopts the customs, defends the people who accepted him. His children become part of the story. That is how tribes expand. That is how nations are built. But if entry is faster than absorption, something else happens. The stranger does not become part of the tribe. He forms another tribe inside the first one, then another, then another. Same land, different languages, different loyalties, different memories, different heroes, different ideas of right and wrong. And now, the original tribe has a problem no border wall can fully solve, because the border did not disappear. It moved inside. This is where the mathematics becomes brutal. Housing does not expand infinitely. Schools do not absorb infinite languages without cost. Hospitals do not absorb infinite demand. Police do not absorb infinite disorder. Courts do not absorb infinite claims. Trust does not absorb infinite difference. The system can absorb some. It cannot absorb the planet. That is not hatred. That is arithmetic. A welfare system is a commons. A school system is a commons. A hospital system is a commons. Public safety is a commons. The legal order is a commons. And commons do not survive by pretending everyone can take from them forever. Elinor Ostrom spent her career studying how shared resources survive. Her answer was not complicated. Commons need boundaries. The group has to know who belongs. The resource has to have rules. Without boundaries, the commons does not become more compassionate. It gets drained. That is the ancient logic hiding under every immigration fight. Who pays? Who receives? Who obeys? Who belongs? Who decides? A nation can be generous, but generosity without limits is not compassion. It is liquidation. And there is another layer to this. People do not migrate randomly. They move uphill, from chaos to order, from danger to safety, from poverty to wealth, from broken courts to working courts, from weak police to stronger police, from dead futures to possible futures.
They are not coming for random dirt. They are coming for what was built. The roads, the schools, the hospitals, the courts, the currency, the police, the jobs, the language, the customs, the trust. Those things did not grow out of the ground.
People built them, generation after generation, and that is why the direction of movement matters. You do not see millions of Americans sneaking into failed states to have children there. You do not see families crossing deserts to reach places with worse wages, worse courts, worse crime, and less stability. That tells you something. Migration reveals value. People move toward functioning tribes. They move toward accumulated order. And America is accumulated order. Not perfect order, not sinless order, not order that fell from heaven. Built order, inherited order, paid for order. The kind of order people risk their lives to reach. But here is where it gets worse. If enough people flee broken systems and enter a working system without absorbing the rules that made it work, they do not just receive the benefits. They begin changing the system itself. The language changes, the neighborhoods change, the schools change, the politics change, the expectations change, the public offices change, the definition of normal changes. At first, the old population is told nothing is happening. Then it is told it is good that it is happening. Then it is told it has no right to object. And by the time it looks around, the country may still have the same flag, but the tribe underneath it is no longer the same tribe. The danger is not that every newcomer brings crime. That is false. The danger is that people do not arrive as blank slates. Language travels. Habits travel. Networks travel. Loyalties travel. Assumptions travel. Distrust of police can travel. Informal economies can travel. Gangs can travel. Different ideas about law, family, violence, authority, and public duty can travel. A border is not just keeping people out. It is slowing down what enters with them. That is why people leave high-crime places in the first place. They are not stupid. They know what broken systems feel like. They know what corrupt police feel like. They know what weak courts feel like. They know what gang rule feels like. They know what poverty feels like. They want out. That is human. That is rational. But a nation is insane if it pretends broken places produce no consequences. If a country imports people faster than it can turn them into citizens in the deep sense, it does not just import labor. It imports unresolved problems. And the old tribe feels it before it can explain it. Your ancestral brain was built to read signals. Language, accent, dress, custom, behavior, ritual, loyalty. Not because every outsider was dangerous, because sameness was information. If someone spoke your language, they probably knew your rules. If someone honored your dead, they probably understood your duties. If someone raised children inside your customs, their children were more likely to defend the same future. So when those signals change everywhere at once, your brain does not calmly call it enrichment. It calls it uncertainty. It asks the old question, are these people with us, or are we becoming strangers in our own camp? And honestly, what comes next is even stranger. Because America was not founded as an abstract hotel for the whole planet. It was founded by a particular people, in a particular place, with a particular language, a particular legal tradition, a particular moral inheritance, a particular political culture. You can argue about who was included. You can argue about who was excluded. You can argue about how that tradition expanded. But you cannot honestly say the founding generation imagined citizenship as automatic access for anyone on Earth who could physically arrive. In 1790, the first Congress passed America's first naturalization law. It did not say everyone on Earth was one border crossing away from membership. It required residence. It required good character. It required allegiance. And yes, by modern standards, it was narrow. Very narrow. But that is the point. The early republic understood citizenship as membership in a people, not just presence on soil. Then came the Civil War. Then the 14th Amendment. Then the Birthright Citizenship Clause. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. That language was written after a national catastrophe. It was written because former slaves and their descendants had been denied citizenship. It was a repair to one of America's deepest sins. But today, that same language has become the center of a different question.
Does birth on the territory automatically create membership in the nation, even when the parents entered without consent, even when the system is already strained, even when millions more can use the same pathway? A court may say yes, but your ancestral brain hears a different question. Did the tribe consent? Because a baby is not just another mouth. A baby is a future adult, a future voter, a future office holder, a future claimant, a future carrier of language, memory, loyalty, and law. That is why birth changes everything. It turns temporary presence into permanent inheritance. And most serious nations understand this. Japan does not treat birthplace alone as automatic membership. China does not treat birthplace alone as automatic membership. Israel has a citizenship system tied openly to peoplehood, descent, return, and national continuity. Many Gulf states allow foreign labor inside their borders while keeping political membership tightly guarded. These countries disagree on almost everything, but they agree on one ancient principle: membership is guarded. A hotel sells access to strangers. A nation transmits belonging across generations. That is the difference. A hotel asks, "Can you pay?" A nation asks, "Are you one of us?" But America is caught between two visions. One vision says the nation is an idea. Anyone can join it by arriving, obeying a few basic rules, and claiming equal rights. The other vision says the nation is a people with memory, a people with ancestors, a people with inherited institutions, a people with a right to preserve its future. Both sides sound moral. Both can become dangerous. Universalism can become borderless consumption. Particularism can become cruelty. But only one side pretends math does not exist. Infinity cannot fit inside a finite system. Infinite entry cannot fit inside finite housing. Infinite claims cannot fit inside finite welfare. Infinite languages cannot fit inside one school system without cost. Infinite values cannot fit inside one legal order without conflict. Infinite membership cannot fit inside a nation and still leave the nation intact. At some point, the question is no longer immigration. It is succession. Who inherits the country? Who votes? Who governs? Who sits on school boards? Who becomes police chief? Who becomes judge? Who controls the curriculum? Who decides what counts as hate? Who decides what history means? Eventually, public offices reflect the new population. That is not a conspiracy. That is arithmetic. If the electorate changes, power changes. If power changes, law changes. If law changes, memory changes. And once memory changes, the nation may keep the same name while becoming a different people entirely. And this is where the argument leaves the courtroom. Because a court can declare something legal, but legality is not the same as legitimacy. 5 people in black robes can interpret a sentence. They cannot erase an instinct older than law. They cannot make a tribe stop asking who belongs. They cannot make citizens stop noticing when the government built to protect them starts protecting the claims of non-members instead. That is the broken contract. A government is not the nation. It is a tool the nation creates. The people give it power. The people give it money. The people obey its laws. The people send their sons to fight its wars. The people accept its punishments. And in return, the government protects them, their borders, their homes, their children, their language, their public order, their future. That is the deal. When that government stops protecting the people who created it, something ancient happens. The people stop seeing the government as their shield. They start seeing it as the thing standing between them and survival. This is not only an American question. Every people on Earth understands it. Japan understands it. China understands it. Israel understands it. The Gulf states understand it. Ancient Athens understood it. Every tribe around every fire understood it. A people that cannot decide who joins it is no longer governing itself. It is being administered. And Americans have a specific language for this. The Declaration of Independence says that when government becomes destructive of the ends it was created for, the people have the right to alter or abolish it. But then it goes further. It says that when abuse becomes long and repeated, when the design becomes clear, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. New guards, not new slogans, not new excuses, not new lectures from people who do not pay the cost. New guards for their future security. That phrase matters. Future security. Not present comfort, not elite approval, not moral theater. Future security. The security of the people. The security of their children. The security of their borders. The security of their laws.
the security of the nation they were entrusted to pass down. That is not extremism. That is the oldest political contract in human history. A people creates a government to protect the people. And when the government becomes destructive to that purpose, legitimacy returns to where it came from: the tribe, the citizens, the people around the fire. Because courts can interpret law, bureaucracies can enforce policy, rulers can rename surrender as compassion, but no institution can permanently force a people to accept the loss of their own future as justice. Not if that people still remembers what it is. Not if it still believes its children have a claim on tomorrow.
And this is the part your brain notices before your politics does. The border was never just a line. It was the skin of the tribe. Citizenship was never just paperwork. It was the inheritance of protection, duty, memory, and belonging. Modern nations are much larger than tribes, but they still run on the same ancient software: shared language, shared rules, shared loyalty, shared sacrifice, shared future. When outsiders enter slowly and become part of that system, the tribe can grow. When outsiders enter faster than the system can absorb them, the tribe fragments. And when the law says the boundary no longer matters, the ancestral brain hears something terrifying. The future is being decided without the consent of the people who built the fire. A nation can welcome strangers. It can adopt outsiders. It can be generous. But adoption requires a decision. It requires consent. It requires standards. It requires time. It requires the newcomer to become part of the story. Automatic access is different. Automatic access says the boundary belongs to whoever crosses it. And a boundary that belongs to the outsider is not a boundary. It is an invitation. That is why borders feel so emotional. They are not just lines on maps. They are the skin of the tribe. And every living thing knows what happens when its skin stops working. The world gets in. The system breaks down. And what used to be a body becomes a wound. America, at least, was built with that possibility in mind. The founders did not believe government was sacred. They believed the people were. Government was conditional. Power was conditional. Obedience was conditional. And when a government became destructive of the ends it was created to secure, the people were not expected to kneel forever. They were expected to correct it, to alter it, to abolish it if necessary, and to provide new guards for their future security. Because a nation is not a hotel. It is a promise between the dead, the living, and the unborn. And when the guards open the gates against the people they were hired to protect, the question is no longer who gets in. The question is who still has the courage to say, "This belongs to us."